Welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm your host, Ellen Barrett, and we have a great show ahead for you today. And we are starting off with our news partner, Greg, with Medical Art Prosthetics, LLC. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah.
And now you are the owner and also an anaplastologist. Did I say that right?
You did.
Okay, perfect. And today we're going to focus on facial and hand prosthetics and also anaplastology. But first, I kind of want to talk about how you guys got the name Medical Art Prosthetics.
Right. I chose that name years ago. After I transitioned from being a sole proprietor to kind of capture all three elements that go into this kind of a practice. You know, there's medical training involved in my background, and then of course it's really dependent on art, actual making of these devices. And then prosthetics is just a very general field, obviously, and it's a profession. So I just combined all the terms into the one. So that's how I chose that.
I like it because then people can kind of get a feel for everything that you do just right in the name. Kind of how you stand apart as well.
Yeah, exactly. Every term has a true meaning, and so I hope that people do remember that.
Now when people come in and they're in a situation where they need a facial prosthetic, do people really know what it is or how it's used?
Not all the time. I mean, people get referred by their doctors, or they find themselves in a position where they need a facial restoration, a nasal prosthesis, and they don't know if it's going to be permanent sometimes, or if it's put under the skin, or how it actually works. So I've got a few examples here, of course, that we can demonstrate that.
And
just
it always
in the sense that
it's so crazy how realistic these look. Every time, I'm just mind blown.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of it.
Good.
And it's not actually downplayed sometimes. It's just, historically, it's been the idea that it's a shame when somebody needs an ear or a nose or an eye, and it's just a matter of them getting one. But what it really boils down to getting a prosthesis that's so accurate and so carefully prepared that people don't notice it. But this demonstrates how a prosthesis is actually attached. So in the case of an ear prosthesis, that's an implant retained prosthesis. And then there's other types of the attachments, but then again, this just demonstrates that these people put these on every day.
Is it magnetic?
They put them on in the morning. They are. Okay. Some of them are magnetic. Some of them have like a bar and a clip attachment.
Oh, sure.
This involves surgery, of course, to attach these, but not all of them require that. A lot of them can be adhesive retained. And then, of course, this is an eye prosthesis or an orbital prosthesis.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, how about hand prosthetics? And I guess when you come in with somebody who needs something like a hand prosthetic, I mean, that's just got to be huge, because that's something you use every day that suddenly you don't have.
Well, good point. You say people, use their hands, obviously, but what I find as technology increases in the functional prosthetics, there's still a large component of patients that are actually not interested in restoring function because they're very robotic.
Sure.
And people notice them, and they make noise. And many patients that I see are strictly wanting a device that they can put on, a cosmetic, I shouldn't say cosmetic, we say aesthetic restoration, that looks so much like their natural hand that they can just go right on, put it on, go out to a restaurant and go on with their life without being noticed. They feel normal again. It's really huge. It's not to be underestimated.
Absolutely, and I know we always talk about how that's something you take for granted, I'm sure, when you have a normal hand and you haven't had to go through the loss of a finger or different parts of your hand like that.
Right.
And I know you kind of touched on this too, but how do your prosthetics kind of stand apart too from other prosthetics in the market?
Well, of course, I like to think that the prosthetics that I do, because I specialize, are some of the most accurate and detailed and faithfully represent the person's body as can be found. But in comparison to other prosthetic industries like limb prosthetics, traditional arms and legs, or dental prosthetics, we're really focused on the aesthetics, and it's a very specialized thing where these other disciplines really require teams and a number of people. I focus on this work gets done by one person. It's almost like an art project.
It really is, and every time I'm always so amazed. So thank you so much for being with us today, Greg.
Oh, you're welcome, Ellen.
And again, it's Greg with Medical Art Prosthetics. Be sure to check him out and Talk to the Town. We'll be back with more right after this. Welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm your host, Ellen Barrett, and we have a great show ahead for you today, and we're starting off with a special guest. And now, school is about to be back in session for some, and Labor Day is also on its way, giving millions of Americans another reason to soak up as much sun and fun as they possibly can at a nearby beach, or squeeze in one last family vacation for Labor Day. And if you're wondering how to make the most out of the last days of summer and Labor Day, you're in luck. Actress, singer, designer, and mother of four, Vanessa Williams is joining us to share her tips on enjoying every last bit of summer and how to end it on a high note. Vanessa, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me.
It's great to have you. So we kind of want to pick your brain a little bit. Do you have any fun ideas to share about great activities we can do with our friends or family before summer ends, especially during Labor Day weekend?
I know. It seemed like the summer flew by.
It did.
Again, you mentioned that I'm a mother of four.
Yes.
I love always having my kids around. Of course, they've multiplied with friends and boyfriends and girlfriends and stuff. So I love to barbecue. I love to go out by the beach with the family. Also, we've got a pool, so the kids are always in the pool. Spending time with family, I would think, would be the best way to kind of get the last days of summer under your belt. Of course, you have to be protective of your skin. Of course, wear a big hat, sunglasses, sunblock. Also, when you go to the beach, it's wonderful to be able to bring some really cool Bluetooth speakers. That's my favorite now because you can just do it from your phone, from your smartphone, and hydrate. I mean, a lot of people are thirsty, and the weather is really particularly hot recently, but people don't think that not only do you have to hydrate your body, but you have to hydrate your eyes. And I'm here today on behalf of Clear Eyes to introduce a product that we kind of rolled out in January, which is a new bottle that is a multi-dose bottle, but it's a preservative-free eye drop that is called Pure Relief, and it relieves your dry eye. And particularly if you're in the sun and you're at the beach, you're in salt water, whether you're in pool water, your eyes can take a beating. I play tennis, and my husband plays golf. So there's a lot of opportunities to be outside, but also to have your eyes irritated.
I think that's a really good point because people are always thinking about putting on sunblock. People are usually pretty cautious about that, but something we all forget about is our eyes. So why is that, I know you touched on this, so important to really protect your eyes?
Protect your eyes. I've been a big proponent of eye health for a while now. My dad died 10 years ago, and he donated his eyes for the eye bank, and so eye health and the science was really interesting to me, and I was so happy to team up with Clear Eyes, also because I've kind of been known for my eyes, and the name of my touring company is More Than Meet the Eye, so eyes are a part of my life, and it's great to be able to kind of introduce new technology to people.
Absolutely. And any other hot weather essentials that you swear by?
Again, we went over everything. Make sure you enjoy the time because it's fleeting, and have a great vacation and just have fun.
Absolutely. And now, Vanessa, you are always staying busy, I'm sure, as a mother in your busy career. Where are we going to see you next?
I am about to start a new show for VH1.
Awesome.
And we start shooting next week, and it's a dramedy, which will come out next year, based on a novel that Star Jones wrote about a talk show, a fictitious account of a talk show. So that'll be a lot of fun. I just finished working with my good friend Rebecca Romaine on her show called The Librarians. I played a few episodes in that, which will come out in, I think, November or so. And then I'm designing with my new line of clothing on Evine called V by Vanessa Williams, and I launch my fall line next month in September.
Staying busy, it sounds like.
Gotta stay busy, gotta keep moving.
Wonderful. Well, Vanessa Williams, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it and appreciate your tips as well, and we'll definitely follow those guidelines and keep some good care of our eyes the last days of summer here.
Great, and enjoy yourself.
Thank you so much. And Talk of the Town will be back with more right after this. Welcome back to Talk of the Town, and I'm joined now by Zoe Schuler, and you are with Zbella Boutique. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
And so first, I just want to talk about what is Zbella Boutique and why you guys opened.
Sure. We're a women's plus-size clothing store in Middleton, Wisconsin. So we sell plus-size clothing sizes 14 and up, typically. And it's family-run. My mother and I run the store and work at it every day. Yeah, it's great. And we opened because the majority of women in the United States are plus size. I think the statistic is 76% of women are a size 14 and higher. And it's really difficult to find fashionable, well-fitting, well-made clothing in plus sizes.
Sure.
I was sick of shopping online, constantly dealing with the returns, digging in the back corner of the department stores for the one or two pieces that kind of fit when I knew there were great pieces out there. So we found all of those and put them in one place.
Wow, fitting a great need. I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me about the Zbella experience, because I know when I stopped in, I mean, just the experience I had with just the friendliness, and you guys have such a beautiful space.
That's exactly what it's all about. We want to give women, especially plus-size women, the boutique experience. So when they come in, they are going to have somebody to help them find what they need. We're going to ask all the questions to help guide them if they want the help, and give them advice, you know, suggest matching or coordinating pieces, you know, something that might fit a little bit better, and just make the entire process really easy for them.
I like what you said there, that you can offer help if they need it, because sometimes I feel like I've gone shopping and I'm like, leave me alone, you know.
Exactly.
Sometimes I go shopping honestly just to be alone, and it's like a therapeutic experience. I don't know if anybody else is like that.
Totally. And you know, you just read the customer. If they just want to do their thing, they'll let us know, and they're more than welcome to browse, and we won't, you know, we are not pushy at all. But if they want that fashion advice and the whole experience of, you know, us suggesting things and just to have fun, to try things on, that's what we're there for.
Now, what is the most rewarding part of running Zbella?
Honestly, it's to see the customers' reactions. We get, you know, women that come in and, you know, they just can't believe everything fits them. That's not an experience many plus-size women have. I've had women come out of the fitting rooms in tears because they're so relieved at, you know, how great they feel and look, or, you know, when they stand in front of our three-way mirror and they, you know, are like, oh, I look so beautiful. It's just so cool to see them, you know, feel so beautiful.
And that's something everybody should experience every day of their lives.
And it's so, you know, amazing that a new dress or a new top could do that for somebody to boost your self-esteem, but it really can. It's pretty cool.
Kind of answers my next question, but what do your customers appreciate the most about your store?
Yeah, I think the fact that everything fits them, or, you know, they can try on pretty much anything in the store. But like I said earlier, then we make the shopping experience easy for them. If they've got a special occasion, you know, we can just in and out, make it easy. You know, and it's very personalized. We start to recognize a lot of our customers. We do our best to remember them, but they're also going to see the same faces every time. We're small, family run. We just have a few other employees, so you know, it's consistent. You're going to recognize the people. Now,
what kind of brands do you carry?
We carry a ton of brands, but some of the more well-known ones are going to be Lucky brand. We carry Spanx, so shapewear, and another line of shapewear. Not Your Daughter's Jeans, Jag Jeans. We carry a few Canadian lines that have been doing really well. Joseph Ribkoff is one, and Simply is another one.
Awesome. So a really wide selection, it sounds like.
Yeah, everything from casual denim and tops to special occasion dresses.
Perfect. And now, what kind of other special services and events do you guys host over at Zbella?
We are very active in the community, so we participate in local fashion shows. The Middleton Wine Walk we help with. We just had a block party. And then in the store, we, in addition to regular sales and things like that, we do yoga 3 times a week. So one of our employees is a certified Yoga for All instructor, and her classes are just growing, that she keeps offering more. So we do it either before or after hours, and it's super affordable, and it's just a really cool experience.
Now, briefly before we go, could you explain what Yoga for All is for those who may not be familiar?
It means that the instructor has been certified to teach yoga to anybody, any body. So anybody's ability. She can show you how to do a pose if maybe it's more difficult for you to do it the traditional way, whether it's on a chair or, you know, with a prop. She just makes it accessible for anybody.
I love it. And
It's really
again,
neat.
Zoe with Z Bello Boutique, thanks for being with us
Thank
today.
you.
And Talk of the Town will be back with more right after this. Welcome back to Talk of the Town, and I'm joined now by our news partner, Phil Anderson for U.S. Senate. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
And now, as always, we always just hit the hard topics, and I love it.
That's what we try to do, yep.
We just dive right into it. And so today we're talking about the war on drugs, and so I want to know what your position is.
Well, my position is that the war on drugs needs to be ended because it's not really a war on drugs. It's a war on people and their personal choices. So people should be allowed to eat, drink, consume what they want as long as they're not harming anyone else. And the idea that our personal choices are made illegal and then prosecuted in that way, to me, is completely anti-liberty and anti-person.
So I'm guessing your beliefs are as well that the war on drugs isn't really about drug use.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, recently it was uncovered that one of the people in the Nixon administration who was involved in implementing the war on drugs, that they knew at that point that it was really a war on people of color and a war on people, on poor people, and that they knew that from the get-go. And certainly the statistics have borne that out to be the case. But they knew that ahead of time, so I would classify that as not an unintended consequence, but an intended consequence of what they're calling the war on drugs.
Now, has the war on drugs affected drug use, would you say?
No, I mean, clearly not. People's attitudes about marijuana have changed for the better over the course of the war on drugs. If it were effective, then people would not want to be using marijuana and other drugs, but clearly that use has gone up and become more accepted in society, and that's why you see support for legalization in Wisconsin and throughout the country, and rightly so. So I think it's had the opposite effect of what they thought they were going to do, as well as enriching professional criminals in Central and South America who produce drugs to be imported into the United States.
Now, I know you talked about two intended and unintended consequences, so let's kind of go over some of those different consequences from the war on drugs.
Sure. Well, one of the biggest things is that people of color, mainly young black men, have been incarcerated at a greatly higher rate than any other group, 5 times. And they know from surveys that drug use is roughly the same between demographics based on color and class, et cetera. But the black men have been incarcerated at 5 times the rate as white men or other demographics. So this not only has the consequence of black men being in jail, but the disruption of families and incomes, and then people being put in jail for crimes that have no victim, but then being incarcerated with people who are professional criminals and being involved in that lifestyle, having problems getting a job when they get out. All of these other things that have had a huge effect, especially on the black community. A big unintended consequence of the so-called war on drugs.
Now, if you're elected, what's your plan to end this war on drugs?
Well, I'm going to fight like crazy to get this done, and I think that most people in the United States agree that marijuana should be legal. It should be regulated, of course, and whether it should be taxed or not, that's a different story, but certainly regulated much like alcohol or cigarettes are, because certainly kids shouldn't have it. But the problem is that both Democrats and Republicans are in bed with many different industries because their parties and their candidates accept contributions from not only the pharmaceutical industry, which has an interest in not having marijuana be legal, but also clothing industry, paper industry, energy industry, because those are other uses of hemp, industrial hemp and marijuana that those lobbies don't want to see legal. So that's why you see people like Russ Feingold, for example, be very careful about endorsing marijuana legalization because his constituents support that, as do mine, and as I imagine Ron Johnson's constituents, they support that as well. But they have an eye towards campaign contributions, and they get lots of campaign contributions from those industries, so they're very careful about it, and they're hedging, and they claim that they're on board, but they're not really doing much about it. As a matter of fact, some of the leading marijuana activists in Wisconsin are calling out Russ Feingold right now and saying, what's your position? What are you going to do? What are you going to advocate for when you get back into the Senate if that happens? And he said nothing.
Okay. So how would your plan as well benefit Wisconsin and the country as a whole, quickly before we go?
Well, it would stop putting people in jail for crimes where there's not a victim and allow people to live freely. That's the whole point of being a libertarian and being a citizen and an American, is being able to live your life as you choose. And the idea that you get put in jail for something that only you're responsible for is ridiculous.
Bill Anderson for U.S. Senate, thank you again for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for watching Talk of the Town. You can find us next time only on Channel 57.